All right, let's talk about something that's kind of at the very heart of software development. See, programming often feels like this deeply personal solo mission, right? Just you and the logic. But here's the thing. Most of the software we use today isn't built by some lone genius in a dark room. It's built by teams. So how do we make that work? That's the paradox we're diving into. And this is the million-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, if coding is this internal, creative thing, almost like painting or writing a song, how on earth do you turn that into a group project? It sounds like trying to have 10 people paint one canvas at the same time. It's a huge challenge, and today, we're going to break it down. So, before we can even talk about how programmers work together, we first have to get a handle on how they think as individuals. Because trust me, there are some really unique and powerful mental models going on in there. Let's peel back the layers and take a look at the developer's cognitive toolkit. Okay, first up is something called decomposition. This is a fundamental instinct for any developer. You show them a giant, scary, complex problem, and their mind immediately goes, okay, how do I break this beast down? The whole idea is to get to the smallest, most bite-sized pieces possible, because small things are way easier to understand, easier to build, and definitely easier to fix. It's all about turning a mountain into a pile of manageable pebbles. Next, we've got abstraction. And this is one of the most powerful ideas in all of computer science. Just think about driving a car. All you need to know is the steering wheel, the gas, and the brake. You don't need to be a mechanic who understands every detail of the engine just to drive to the store. Well, abstraction does that for code. It hides all the messy complexity so you can focus on the big picture. And that is absolutely crucial when you're building massive systems. And this one's my favorite. Automation. It's this special brand of what I'd call strategic laziness. A programmer will see some repetitive 5-minute task and think, nope, I am not doing this by hand ever again. And then they'll happily spend the next 3 days writing a perfect little program to automate it away forever. It's all about investing a little pain upfront to save a lifetime of annoyance. Which brings us to this idea called the stack mind. Now picture this, you're working on a problem, but to solve it, you realize you need to fix something else in a different piece of code. So you mentally push what you're doing onto a stack, kind of like putting a bookmark in a book. You dive into that subtask, fix it, and then you pop your original thoughts right back and pick up exactly where you left off. It's basically the movie Inception, but for coding. It's a real superpower for navigating complex projects. Okay, so we have this individual with a pretty fascinating way of thinking. But what happens when you take a bunch of these people and put them in a room together? Well, that's when we shift from the power of a single mind to the incredible potential of the collective. Let's see how this all plays out in a group. You know, the ultimate goal of teamwork is synergy. It's that magic that happens when a team just clicks. It's when 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. It equals 3 or 5 or even 10. The team's combined output is way more than what each person could have ever done on their own. But there's a flip side. A bad team can actually be less productive than just one person working alone. To really see this in action, let's look at this incredible experiment from way back in the 1970s. An international organization gave 3 different teams, one from Germany, one from Japan, and one from the US, the exact same challenge: design what we would basically call a smartwatch today. The results were just stunning, and a direct reflection of each team's culture. The German team, with their super rigid hierarchy, they designed this beautiful but impossibly complex and expensive watch. It was unbuildable. The Japanese team, which was organized by social status, made a design that was cheap to produce, but it was so inflexible you couldn't change a thing. And then there was the American team. They used this democratic, brainstorming approach. Leaders would shift around, and they produced a design that was not only doable and affordable, but it was visionary. And that's the core lesson right there. A team's internal structure, its culture, that's not just soft skills fluff. It directly determines whether a project will succeed or fail. The way a team works together is literally as important as the code it writes. Okay, so we've established that team culture is absolutely critical. But what does a great team actually look like day to day? What are the real rules of the game for these high-performing developer teams? Let's break it all down. So, great teams, they tend to share a common blueprint. It all starts with everyone knowing what their job is and what the end goal is. So, clear roles and common goals. That's the foundation. And what holds that foundation together is great communication and a strong, shared culture, kind of like the team's own inside jokes and language. And the fuel that powers all of it? Independence and trust. You gotta give people the freedom to do their best work. And those big picture traits, they translate directly into daily habits. You lean into that automation instinct by using the right tools to make work smoother for everyone. You treat your documentation like a shared code base. It's a living, breathing thing that everyone helps keep up to date. And you learn to embrace healthy conflict. Think of it like debugging your team's ideas to find the flaws before they become real problems. And of course, you have a game plan for when disagreements inevitably happen. All of this leads us to a really different way of thinking about what it means to be a top performer. It's not just about being the fastest or smartest coder in the room anymore. It's about being the best team player. And this is the bottom line. The real most valuable player on a team isn't the person who writes the most code. No way. It's the person who makes the entire team better. They're the one who improves the documentation so new people can get started faster. They simplify a complicated process so everyone can work with less stress. They're the ones who take the time to mentor junior developers. That is the new gold standard for excellence. But becoming that kind of team player means you have to learn to avoid some really common, really human traps that a lot of developers can fall into. So let's look at some of the biggest ones you need to sidestep. First up, code jealousy. This comes directly from that feeling that programming is a personal art. You know that instinct, right? That little voice in your head that says, hey, don't you dare touch my beautiful code. But that kind of ownership kills collaboration. Great team players understand the code belongs to the team, not to the person who wrote it. And then there's the God complex. This is the lone wolf stereotype on steroids. It's the belief that you're so good, the team's rules and processes just don't apply to you. This kind of ego is absolute poison. It basically tells everyone else on your team that their work and the systems you've all built together just don't matter. And finally, there's the instinct to be free of blame. When a bug pops up, that programmer brain immediately kicks in to decompose the problem and find the one single cause. But in a team, that can really quickly turn into pointing fingers. Great teams, they win together, and they fail together. The ownership is always shared. You know, when it comes right down to it, this journey from being a lone wolf to a true team player is really about expanding our whole view of what programming is. It's not some kind of secret dark art that only a few people can do. It's a fundamental skill, and it's a skill that only gets richer and more powerful when we learn to do it together. So we'll leave you with this last thought. This isn't about some massive overnight change. It's about the small things you do every single day. So what's one thing you can do tomorrow to help your team, to share what you know, or just improve a process for everybody? Because that's where the real work and the real magic begins.